Hi, so I got the RG Rotate, and some people are complaining regarding ghosting on the screen. Now I've got on RG35 XX, the Anbernic RG Rotate, and R36h, and I'm running F0 on the SNES just to show if you can actually, when you're playing the game, because this is a pretty fast game, if you can actually see the ghosting. Now, firstly, what I can say though is the screen on the RG Rotate, the colors are much better in terms of saturation and screen quality in my eyes. As you can see, the purple looks much more purple, and the white at the bottom when it talks about the Nintendo looks much better. But if you can see it side by side in terms of if you can actually see it, I think the RG Rotate has less ghosting than the RG35 XXH. I think the 35 XXH is it's a worse screen in terms of quality and in terms of ghosting too. I think it's much smoother and clearer on the Rotate. Even if you compare it with the R36H, I think the Rotate has a better screen quality in terms of the purples. You can see at the top purples and the yellows, they're much more vibrant. And obviously the screen is smaller, but it's much more vibrant and far better quality, I think, on the Rotate. But I will show you both the games running side by side, so you can see if you can see any major difference when it comes to actual ghosting and as you play the game. Because like I said, in my mind, I think the RG, this is about the same part of the track, I think the Rotate is much better. The thing is, you can also change the colors of the Rotate as well. So if you want to have it less saturated and you want to have it normal, so I might change the colors showing the less saturation. Let me just go to the settings and change the saturation of this. Settings, display, and you go to colors and contrast. It's on the increased saturation, but if I change it to standard, let's see what you get. So it's on the standard setting. Let's see what you get when it comes to screen quality. Again, I just think it's much more saturated even at the standard setting. I think I can't notice a difference when it comes to standard and I think the saturation's a bit less, as you can see from the purple at the top there. Let me just change it one more time, see if I can actually see a difference. Whoops. If I can change it to increase contrast, there is a bit of a shift when you change it to standard, and it gets a bit yellowy, I think, here, and it gets a bit brighter there. Yeah, so I do see a difference when it comes to changing the contrast. I think I prefer having a bit more contrasty screen. But like I said, even when you compare fast-moving images and F0, the ghosting, I don't think it's an issue, especially when you're comparing it with devices, possibly under similar. Obviously, they might not be in the same price bracket as of now, but in terms of screen size, I think this one being a better screen in terms of clarity and about just overall look. And I can't see much ghosting if you compared it with the others in my eyes. But yeah, this is first. Secondly, some people complain about the D-pad not being. Some people do D-pad test. Now, if I move it up and down the D-pad, I'm gonna just use one finger. It doesn't, like, I'm moving up and down, but it's not moving in terms of. Now, obviously, if I move it diagonally a little bit, there, can you see? And you'll hear the click as well. So when it's very clicky, I think they're micro switches, because my other controller is micro switching a similar thing. When I move it up and down, only when I click the bottom, can you see? I do that. That's when it clicks. But when I'm moving it here, it doesn't show for me. It's only when I click, you'll hear the click. So I personally think, obviously the device has flaws to it, but comparing it with similar devices in terms of use case, I don't think in terms of price, because obviously this is half the price of this, and this R36h is even more less so. But I think in terms of size comparison and what you can play on it, and the screen compared to other 3.5-inch screens, or 3-inch screens possibly in a similar manner. I'm getting Miu Mini Flip version 2. I've also got one of them. I can compare it with that at a later stage if people would like to see that. But in my eyes, the display on this is much better, much more saturated. And even though it probably has ghosting, I can't see the ghosting for a game on a similar level across the board. But yeah, if anybody would like me to possibly test other games out and see if they're any difference, then yeah, I can do that. But I do think there is ghosting on this device. Like if I compare it with a high-end display like my Samsung Galaxy Tab that has an AMOLED screen and it's 120 Hz, and I test a UFO test, you can definitely see the ghosting on this device compared to that. But obviously that is a much better display. It's an AMOLED display. It has a higher refresh rate display, so you are going to see more ghosting on that. But when I compare it to other devices that are on 60 Hz of a similar caliber, I would say I don't see much ghosting in comparison to this device that have similar sort of LCD display panels. But yeah, I thought I might as well just put this out there. If you would like to just comment, you can do. I'd like to be interested in see what other people want to say about this device and see where we go from here. Anyway, thanks. Bye.